Tonight, Regina City Council takes the extraordinary step of firing Real's voting board of directors amid budget turmoil at the organization. Also, home ownership by way of crowdfunding, how some people are getting creative financing. Plus, Israel and Hamas have agreed to a truce for hostages deal.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, November 22nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Big changes are coming to the organization in charge of attracting shows and hosting events in Regina. Alexander Kwan has more from City Council.
The Board of Directors of Regina Exhibition Association Limited, or REAL, have been fired. Regina City Council voted 6-5 on Wednesday afternoon to remove the board amid uncertainty over the organization's future.
While REAL and its governance and operational leaders are meant to be held at arm's length from Council, at the end of the day, it's the 11 of us who are responsible and accountable to members of the public.
REAL is in charge of the Brand Centre and Mosaic Stadium and helps host the Queen City X, Frost Festival, and Canadian Western Agribition, but has not been making money. And an independent financial analysis found that REAL's current business model is no longer sustainable without substantial subsidies from the city. Last week, REAL told Council it would need $5.8 million for next year's budget. That's 5 times more than it received this year.
It's unfortunate that we have to make this call, but to dole out millions and millions and millions without truly understanding where these dollars are going, I can't any longer.
The vote came after an hour-long closed-door meeting among councillors. Some of them urged caution.
Please, please, please. We crashed tourism already rushing. We've impacted one of our assets with REAL with rash decisions. Just slow down.
But were ultimately outvoted 6-5. Council's decision means city administration will appoint the board's replacements. This as the city prepares a report on the organization's future, which could include the entire dissolution of the organization. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
A temporary complex needs shelter has been approved for Saskatoon. It will go into a former SLGA liquor store on Idlewild and 38th Street West, but it wasn't without pushback from the community. Ashwarya Duda has the story.
Frustrated area residents and business owners packed Saskatoon City Council chambers on Wednesday morning. Many concerned that crime in their Idlewild neighborhood is already rampant, with fires, break-ins, and littered needles. A business owner about a block from the site says she didn't receive any notice of the proposal and had just a few days to find the information.
And I just think the addition of a complex needs shelter without being able to answer how the discharge procedure is going to be handled this is not the area to add it to. If they could answer those questions and we knew that some safety and some security issues were going to be addressed appropriately, the need for these shelters is obviously pretty great in our city.
Area residents had similar concerns.
The security services that the businesses do hire, their hands are tied just like the police have their hands tied. They can't touch these people. They can't stop them from walking out the door, filling out their pockets with stuff.
Hearing those concerns, City Council did approve the application for 18 months. There are also to be check-ins at 6 and 12 months to identify any issues. Ward 1 Councillor Darren Hill was the only person to oppose the application. He raised many issues, including concerns around the discharge process. He put forward the amendment to have those check-ins.
At 23.5 hours for each of those individuals, have you identified where you're taking them to discharge at that time?
As for the discharge process, the province's Deputy Minister of Housing says after 24 hours, people will be transported to other community services or shelters.
We cannot, of course, guarantee where people will go after the 24 hours. I don't want to make a guarantee that isn't legitimate.
Councillor Hill also asked about what he described as a lack of notice about the proposed shelter, as renovations at the former SLGA liquor store have been underway for a few months. The The province said it wanted to expedite things because of an urgent need to help people and approaching winter.
The renovations that were happening in that was site cleanup and stuff, these were outside of this. Again, going back to the urgency that was required to stand up these locations, as well as following the procedures.
The application from the province falls under permitted use by zoning bylaw, so the city could not turn down the application. Councillor Darren Hill made a motion to amend the operation duration to 6 months instead of 18, but that did not get enough support. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The rules have changed for visitors hoping to watch question period in person at the Saskatchewan legislature. It follows a protest on Monday that caused the debate to be halted because protesters were chanting from the galleries. Dozens of protesters were calling for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. The service that provides security for the legislative building has decided to reduce the number of guests in the galleries to 20 at once, unless they're scheduled for a tour. It will also require those in attendance to provide their name and address when registering, and that must be received 72 hours before they plan to attend. Walk-ins will need approval by the Director of Security. The minister responsible says the decision was made by the Legislative Security Director and is not political.
We want to make sure that the Assembly is still open, but we want to make sure that it's safe for individuals. What we saw on Monday, there was a massive disruption. Some of the recommendations that came from the Legislative District Security Unit in response to that, and I'm supportive of the moves that they're certainly making.
The opposition says it's concerned the government is restricting access to people in the building and asking for personal details. The rule changes for the public gallery will be in place until at least the end of the month. We know there are strong feelings around what's happening in Israel and Gaza. And in the early hours of this morning, a Prince Albert man finally was reunited with his family who were stranded in Gaza. It was just after midnight that Abdullah Al-Gharbari embraced his children at Saskatoon's airport. We've been following Al-Gharbari's story since the Israel-Hamas war broke out. He's had many sleepless nights, worried about his wife and 4 kids who struggled to find a safe space. The entire family went to Gaza in June, but Al-Gharbari came back to Saskatchewan for work a month later. His wife and children stayed longer and became trapped. He worked tirelessly to lobby Canadian authorities for help to get them out of Gaza. About a week ago, we learned that they had crossed into Egypt, and now, finally, the family's all together again in Saskatchewan. We'll have the latest from Israel and Gaza later in the show. The number of mammograms being performed in our province is significantly down over the last 6 years. According to the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency, 10,000 fewer last year compared to 2017. The opposition NDP says breast cancer is the second leading cause of death among women in Saskatchewan. NDP leader Carla Beck says the wait times for mammograms are unacceptable. She says some doctors are reporting waits as long as next June. The NDP says the government simply isn't making this a priority.
7 months is way too long for women in this province to be waiting for a mammogram. Full stop. Mr. Speaker, these delays, these long wait lists, they don't just happen on their own. It's happening because this tired and out-of-touch government simply isn't making this a priority. It seems that this is a government too focused on kids' pronouns or trips to Dubai or putting out fires in their own caucus to focus on what matters in healthcare and what matters to women.
Premier Scott Moe says the province has boosted its investment in cancer care, but says there is a need for more mammography services in the province, which is a priority for the health minister. New federal data suggests that Prince Albert has a drug problem. The city's wastewater has the highest daily concentration of meth compared to several other major Canadian cities. The city of Prince Albert had asked to participate in the Statistics Canada study that examined traces of drugs in wastewater. Researchers searched for a milligram of a drug per 1,000 people. They looked at 10 substances, including cannabis, opioids, and stimulants like cocaine and meth. Data shows that for the past 2 years, Prince Albert's average daily load of meth far outweighed other cities.
We don't necessarily know for methamphetamine, or at least I don't know what that represents in terms of actual amounts ingested. But in relative terms, Prince Albert, the measurements are just under 1,500, whereas in Saskatoon, the average so far was under 1,000, and most other municipalities are under 1,000.
Stats Canada notes that drugs found in wastewater do not necessarily mean they were ingested. They could have been flushed, for example, but the data does suggest they are present in the community. With rising inflation and interest rates, owning a home can seem impossible for many Canadians. It's sparking some people to get creative. And as Jesse Anton reports, that includes a 47-year-old Saskatchewan student who's turned to crowdfunding.
So that's my heater in my room. I usually pull it over so I can turn it on in the morning and get some heat.
Lori Dietz takes us inside her $900 a month rental unit in West Regina. With a broken furnace, her son also needs a heater.
It's on the same breaker, so we'll blow the breaker, so we get to take turns having heat.
The single mother and university student has rented since she was 18, never having enough money to put toward a down payment. So now at 47, she's getting creative, asking 500 people for $100 each to buy this $50,000 trailer outright.
I just want to be able to focus on my life and improving and not having the burden of the rental and just feel like you're constantly digging in instead of digging out.
And her 14-year-old son is on the same page.
I won't have to cover up with blankets, I won't have to walk around in sweaters, and I will be able to dress however I'd like in my house.
Dietz was inspired to crowdfund the money after stumbling across an old news story. Back in 2005, a Montreal blogger started trading up a single red paperclip. It eventually led to a house in Kipling, Saskatchewan. Dietz says the tale has been in the back of her mind for years. And now, with her current housing situation, it felt like a good time to put her own twist on it.
In our housing crisis, we need to start thinking outside of the box. We need to find ways to get people permanent homes, and relying on the rental market and the mortgage market, it's not going to get us out.
Saskatchewan's rental rates are among the most affordable in the country, but with immigration-fueled population growth,
vacancy is virtually zero and rental demand continues to persist. Wait lists are still there for 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms.
Being a 60 scoop survivor, life hasn't always been easy for me. It always seems like I'm fighting a struggle, I'm fighting something, and when something new falls on me, it gets really defeating to be like another thing I have to do. So this would take one last fight off me.
And to make it happen, she's banking on the kindness of others. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
Well, there's not much ice or snow left on the river in Saskatoon today, and the way things are going, it really won't be cold enough to freeze over this week. We've got a cold blip coming, and things get really cold with wind chills the next few nights, but then things rebound through the weekend. Ethan will have more in your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Regina has its own little Charlie Brown Christmas tree in the northwest end of the city. People in the Norman View neighborhood first noticed a pothole on the corner of Berenson and Nole Avenue over the summer. The city came out and put up a warning barrier soon after, but hasn't been back to fix it. Months later, someone in the area decided to make the situation a little more festive.
It started as a small hole underneath the barricades there, and I think it was late July, early August that it was first there. The city came along and put up barricades and did nothing about it that whole time, and then about a month ago the little Christmas tree went up and somebody came along and put a stand underneath it and lights and then presents and socks, and it's just been kind of growing from there.
The city says it was made aware of the collapsed storm drain in July. At the time, there was no evidence of a sinkhole. The road is scheduled to be fixed early next month.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. If this weather keeps up, they should have no trouble fixing that pothole.
Yeah, exactly. I think Santa's going to have to add another stop to his list there. At least doesn't have to climb down the chimney to get to that location. Maybe just climb in the pothole instead. But yes, it has been a very brisk and feeling a little more winter-like. And look at current temperatures shows us, all of us through the province, sitting below the freezing mark right now. And there is a bit of a contrast in temperatures, not quite as much as yesterday when we had a 30-degree spread. And that's because southwestern Saskatchewan has joined the rest of us in more seasonal conditions. In fact, Maple Creek, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, you were sitting at 16 degrees. 24 hours later, you're sitting at -2, so dropping by 18 degrees in 24 hours. In fact, you dropped by 8 degrees in just the span of 1 hour overnight. So things dropping very quick there. Factor in a little bit of wind, and we're talking about -teens through much of south and central and getting close to that -30 mark with the wind chill again in the far north of the province. And in addition to the far north, seeing some pretty cold temperatures. South and central will probably be between -15, -20 tonight. That's actually a little better than what was forecast this time yesterday, but wind chills still around -25. And as we get into tomorrow, even colder conditions overnight Thursday into Friday. Probably -20 to 25, and then wind chills feeling like -30. So a good couple of nights here to make sure you got your car plugged in if you haven't had to do that already this season. And a little bit of snow on top of that in southwestern Saskatchewan. We did have some heavier bands a little bit earlier this afternoon along the Trans-Canada, kind of just north of Maple Creek. But that is starting to dissipate now, and that will be quickly moving out thanks to this area of high pressure, which has already cleared out the north, and it'll really clear out south and central tomorrow. Almost guaranteed sunshine for all of us tomorrow, pretty much province-wide, maybe just a little bit of light cloud cover in western sections. That sticks around for the southern half of the province as we end the work week, but a little bit cloudier in the north in anticipation of a small system bringing through some light snow to northern and eastern sections as we head into Saturday. And with that, the winds will start to pick up, but until then, high pressure tomorrow keeps us pretty calm. Getting into Friday, Saturday, maybe some gusts into the 40 to 50 range at times. From the southwest, though, so we won't be getting those really brisk northerly or northwesterly winds that we've seen over this the past little while, especially a couple of weeks ago or so. So, yeah, a little bit of a cold blip tomorrow for Regina, feeling like closer to -16 during the day, and after a cold night, we will very quickly warm back up, though, to around -4 with lots of sunshine. Increasing cloudiness as we head into the weekend, although temperatures will stay above seasonal until we hit about Wednesday, when the overnight lows actually almost match the daytime highs. Saskatoon, again, seeing things a little bit warmer maybe than Regina and southern Saskatchewan tomorrow. And then look at that big swing in temperature for Friday before things kind of even out. So temperatures, Sam, a little confused. They're not sure whether to go up or down right now.
I'm not mad about it, though, because I like that they're leaning towards warm.
Yes, that's right. They can stay that way as long as they want.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Stay with us. We have more news after the break. Welcome back. 3 of 4 border crossings between Canada and the United States have reopened in the Niagara Falls area. A deadly vehicle explosion on the U.S. side had closed the crossings earlier today. Witnesses say a vehicle was traveling at a high rate of speed toward Canada. It appears to have slammed into a barrier or building at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, New York. 2 people in the vehicle are reported to have died. The Rainbow Bridge will remain closed as the investigation continues. Extra security is also in place at the airport in nearby Buffalo, New York. The investigation is ongoing, and law enforcement on both sides of the border are calling the situation fluid. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a truce for hostages deal. The diplomatic breakthrough will free dozens of hostages being held by Hamas, as well as Palestinians jailed in Israel. And bringing a 4-day halt to fighting, Satra Petrusik has the latest.
For all the talk of a peaceful pause, there's none of that yet in Gaza. 4 rockets fired at us, he says. Israel doesn't want a truce. But even as Israeli airstrikes continue to pound what's left of Gaza in search of Hamas militants, it says, even as Palestinians open mass graves because all their cemeteries are full, and Israelis bury a young soldier killed yesterday Today, there is a small glimmer of hope, especially among the families of some 240 kidnapped Israelis. An agreement to stop fighting for 4 days, while 50 hostages held by Hamas are traded for 150 Palestinians in Israeli jails. A hope that Cherie Beavis and her 2 boys will be among the women and children released from Gaza. But it's tempered by uncertainty, says Beavis's cousin, Isat.
I don't know what kind of children will come back to us. The trauma, what they saw.
In Gaza, where residents scramble for every bottle of water, there is optimism that a few days' truce might ease shortages by allowing in the hundreds of aid trucks waiting. Not enough, says the head of UNICEF, pointing at the thousands of children killed.
For children to survive, for humanitarian workers to stay and effectively deliver, humanitarian pauses are simply not enough. UNICEF is calling for an urgent humanitarian ceasefire to immediately put a stop to this carnage.
We hope that the 4-day truce announced can be extended.
At the UN Security Council, countries lined up to urge Israel and Hamas to keep talking.
But make no mistake, as soon as the pause ends, we will continue striving towards our goals with full force.
For many in Gaza, the pause comes just too late. But for others, it may be a very brief suspension of suffering. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And after a mostly cloudy day in Regina and the south, clouds clearing almost by midnight. -11, though, as those clouds clear away. We get that cold air moving in. And those winds from the north are making things quite brisk, especially by tomorrow morning. Kids are going to need a few extra layers at the bus stop, looking around -16, but again, feeling closer to -24 with the wind chill. Full sunshine, though, continuing by the noon hour, and we're up to -11, so a bit of a chilly lunch break. Saskatoon, that high pressure reaching you first, so we should be fully clear by midnight, but just a little bit cooler as a result, and even cooler still by the 8 a.m. hour, although winds are fairly light, so there shouldn't be too much of a wind chill factor, but still a little bit on the cold side, Sam, before those temperatures will warm up heading through the rest of the week.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, we thought we'd highlight some of the amazing talent of photographers in our province. Today, Tourism Saskatchewan announced the winning submissions for the Explore Sask photo contest. Sit back and enjoy some of the winners and honorable mentions. Some beautiful work. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or go download the CBC News app on your phone. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.